So with the restrictions coming to an end, we will be back in church and live streaming, hopefully from now on. And that means that the online pre-recorded services that we've been putting together will be coming to an end. And by way of a tribute to all those who worked so very, very hard for all of those, here's a wee video explaining a bit of the behind the scenes. First, you'll see Chris Crosby, one of our unsung heroes, who has saved me hours and hours of work each week putting together the online choir. And then you'll see me explaining quite how we get those videos together for things that are socially distanced but have to look as though they're not. And after that, in the tradition of Dennis Norden, there are a few of the mistakes that we made along the way. Enjoy.
Hello. Well, I've been asked by Pip to present a short video explaining what exactly goes on in preparing the virtual choir that you hear every Sunday. Now, many of you might not know what goes on. It's not quite like a Zoom conference because there is what we call latency, a slight delay between what the person hears and what the person is seeing. So we have to prepare them separately. And each member of the choir sends in a video recorded on their phone. But at the same time as they're doing that, they are listening to a track, which they probably hear through either headphones or a small earpiece. And this track usually, but not always, has what's called a click, which helps keep everyone synchronized so that when I put it all together, it will match up and sound like a real choir singing together. So let's start off by listening to a typical organ track with the click. Well, as I said earlier, I received the files sent via Pip, and they're quite large. Each particular video file for each hymn is usually around about 300-400 megabytes. So I take this file and put it on to my video editor, which in my particular instance is Sony Vegas. And you will see here Claire is up in the top left-hand corner of that screen there. I've resized her. She's going to occupy about a quarter of the screen. I will then add on Katie, like so, in the same way, cropped and Keith, and then finally Ollie. Now, I've roughly synchronized these, but not perfectly. They don't need to be done because this isn't the sound that I'm going to use. So if I give you a rough idea, I'm going to play you some of Claire. So this is what she sounds like, eventually.
My song is love unknown.
Okay, that's the raw file with the raw sound. I'm now going to add in Katie's sound. And you'll hear it's roughly synchronized.
My song is love unknown.
Okay, and then obviously, this is just to make sure that the video looks about right. After that, after I've done that, I will then go and take these files into my audio editor where I make it sound a little better, hopefully. So, here we are in my audio editor. This one is Adobe Audition, which has lots of lovely features, particularly with processing audio to make it sound a lot better, because the quality of the audio coming off a phone is very variable. Sometimes it's very good, sometimes it's very poor. And what I have to do is to try and make each voice sound as good as possible before I might add some reverb. So we're looking at this file that you're seeing there is the organ, but this time without a click. There we are. That's the intro. We go into the multi-track setting. Here you will see at the top there, that's the organ track. Then there's Claire, Katie, Keith, and then finally Ollie. So at the moment, what I do first of all is I put on the organ track and then I synchronize Claire, usually first, to the organ track without any reverb, just to make sure she's in the right place. So the start of that.
My song is love unknown.
There we are. And then I will add on Katie.
My song is love.
And likewise, add on Keith and Ollie.
My song is love unknown.
Now, I spent quite a lot of time making sure that those particular tracks are exactly lined up correctly. And I can fiddle around a little bit more if someone is slightly out on a particular note. It sounds reasonably good, but without a little bit of EQ, raising certain frequencies, and reverb, it can sound very dry. So this is what it sounds like without any additional enhancements.
My song is love unknown.
I've already added a little bit of extra EQ to each voice, all of them in fact. But I do a little bit at the very end with a piece of program called FabFilter, and that adds quite a lot to the overall sound. So that's the same bit again, but this time with some EQ and reverb added.
My song is love unknown. My Savior's love to me. Love to the love that shone day Christ love me.
Okay, so I take that file with all the reverb and everything sorted out back in to the video editor that we talked about earlier on. So we're back in the video editor, and this file, Love Unknown Mixdown WAV, is going into the timeline here, and the first thing I do is I synchronize it with the other audio files. Usually I start with Claire, she happens to be at the top. So I check that by soloing, just hearing on its own, Claire and the video and the audio file I've just brought in from the audio editor.
My soul is love unknown. My Savior's love to me.
That sounds about right to me. Okay, so once that's done, I just make sure that each person mouth are moving at exactly the right time. So we'll just do a quick check on that. Listen to that and go full screen.
My soul is love unknown. My Savior's love to me.
Indeed it is. Just to give you a comparison, that's the finished product, the finished article. But if I just let you hear everyone on their own without just the raw files, it sounds very different. This is obviously without the organ.
My
song is love unknown, my Saviour's love to me.
So there's quite a transformation from that to
My soul is love unknown, my Saviour's love.
So I hope you've found some of this interesting, and certainly it's very satisfying for me to be able to put in a performance that sounds remarkably like a real live choir.
Hello, so I thought I'd talk you through how I do some of these videos. I'm using my laptop camera there, so it's going to wobble a bit when I type, so I hope that's okay. So I'm going to show you how we do some of the interactive things with people, where two people are talking at the same time. So here's Jane Stevenson, who's doing a bit. Now you'll notice here at the bottom, if you follow my mouse, there's some little bobbly bits, and that's the audio. So you might be able to hear this.
I believe in Jesus Christ, Son of the Father.
Right, so it's not very loud.
Virgin Mary.
I can turn her up a little bit, but even so, it won't be loud enough to balance with the rest of the things
I
on
believe in
the
Jesus Christ, Son of the Father.
screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export her file as an MP3 file, which is an audio file. We go to Jane Audio, and I'm going to choose where I put that. I'm just going to pop that on the desktop because it's a temporary file, and then export that, and you see that whizzing through. So at the same time, I'm now going to open an audio program called Audacity, which is a free program that tells, and then I'm going to import what I've just exported, that audio file. And if we go to desktop, there she is, Jane Audio, and that's the file. You can see it there. So these clicks are problematic, so I don't know where they've come from, but you can hear them.
I believe in one God. the Father
Okay, so the first thing I need to do, I think, is to get rid of those. So the best way to do that is to highlight those, go to Amplify, and turn it right down so that just becomes a straight line. These bits are while Jane's talking, so that's going to be complex. So what I've got to do is make that as big as possible so I can see exactly where that click is. Oh, lost it. There we are. And I'm just going to amplify that bit. And there will be a hole in the sound, but I hope it's not too noticeable. So go to Effect and repeat the amplify, so that goes to nothing. And I'll do that for the subsequent clicks. Okay, so that's the text declicked, but I also need to make it louder. So we go again to amplify, and then it suggests here an amount of amplification which won't distort. So just press yes on that, and there we have the finished product.
I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth.
Okay, so the other tiny bit of thing you can see here is that there's some noise there in the background. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a program which denoises it. So I go to noise reduction. Now the bit I've highlighted is a bit of sort of spare noise without any talking. So that becomes the noise profile. So I've done that, then I highlight it all, and then go back to noise reduction and then noise reduce. And that should get rid of the noise. There we go. Now that's made everything just a little bit quieter, but with no noise. So I'm just going to amplify that once more. Try it to just 1, and that should mean it's nice and loud. Now I export that back. Export as MP3 back to the desktop, and replace the old file with the new file. And there it goes. So now I import this into the video. So there's Jane Audio. That's just coming up now. Hopefully this will be the same size as the other one. We'll soon find out. Yeah, so you can see that they match up pretty well. If they don't match up entirely, I can just wiggle it about a bit. So yeah, sometimes it doesn't match up 100%. So it's just a fraction of a second in it, but so that should be perfect now. So if we turn the volume down on the original video,
I believe in Jesus Christ.
Jane still believes in Jesus Christ, which is very helpful. So if we compare the original, the clicky original,
I believe in one God, the Father Almighty.
to the new one, which we can turn up a bit more,
I believe in one God, the Father Almighty.
so it's a lot clearer. So now I export those two together. Jane complete as an MP4 file, and then I drag the next one in. So that takes a while. So in the meantime, have a cup of tea. Okay, so I've got two files here. I've got Margaret here, and I've upped her volume as before, and I've also got Jane. It's a bit more difficult because Margaret's had to record on portrait rather than landscape, so splitting the screen is not going to be too even, but we can just move those around and we'll get something relatively equitable between the two of them. Now, what we want to do is, this is where the part of Easter where Margaret's proclaiming the baptismal vows, so she asks,
Do you believe in one God?
and Jane replies,
I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth.
Do you believe
yeah, well, that's the problem. We've not got them quite in the same order, so we need to. So I asked the speakers to leave enough of a gap. Now, it's almost impossible for one person to work out how long the gap should be, but we've got ways around that. So Margaret says,
in one God?
I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth.
Do you believe
so
in
that's nearly there, but I think there needs to be a bit more of a pause between Jane finishing and Margaret starting. So what we're going to do is just to cut a bit, not cut a bit out, but just get a little proportion of Margaret's stuff, and then we're going to slow that down slightly. So we're going to custom speed it, and instead of 1, I'm just going to go for 0.9, which should be plenty just to give a bit more space. So let's have a look at that.
Do you believe in one God?
I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth.
Do you believe
That's a better speed. And the other bit that I'm going to change is I'm just going to turn the volume down in that middle bit because I think Margaret's chair creaked.
God?
I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth.
It may have been Jane's chair, but she was doing it as she was speaking, so I don't think there's an awful lot I can do about that. So we just carry on doing that. You see the next bit.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ, the Son of God?
I believe in Jesus Christ, Son of the Father, begotten of the Virgin Mary. He was crucified, died and was buried,
Do you
and
believe
rose again.
See, so it really is almost impossible for people to get the timings right on that. So again, we're just going to cut that bit out, turn the volume down just to stop any extra excess noise coming in, and slow that down by, let's have a look. Let's have a guess at 0.75. That may be just a little bit.
Rose again, in accordance with the scriptures.
Do you believe
So I'm going to slow that down just a little bit more. It's all trial and error. Let's try slowing that down to 7.2. I don't want to slow it down too much because if it's after sort of half speed, it just makes the person look a bit odd.
and rose again in accordance with the Scriptures.
Do you believe in the Holy
No, it's going to be just a little bit more for a pause. Let's go to 0.70. That looks about right. So I carry on doing that for the rest of the thing. And then it looks as though it's a seamless unity with beginning and end. And that becomes one of the things that I just have to slot together at the end. When I've created all the individual bits, it's just a jigsaw of putting them together. Apart from that, it's really easy.
Saints who toil below, do you help? Sorry.
Crucify him! Crucify him!
A wee while ago in Holy Trinity, we put on a course called Mindfulness. No, we didn't. It was called Soulfulness. You ass.
Let's do that one again.
Welcome to Holy Trinity from... Yes, Diane. Can't. I don't have words.
We do that one again as well.
To Calvary. Sugar, sorry. Sorry.
Oh, and again.
Don't touch, please. Just go down the slide. On you go. If you release this man, you are no friend of Caesar.
Desiccated woodlouse in my drinking glass. Yumsk. Start again. Some of you may be comfortably ensconced in a nice cosy sofa with an armchair, drinking an armchair, dunking your armchair into a biscuit. Welcome to Holy Trinity on this, the second Sunday after the Feast of Trinity, and welcome to all of you who have forgotten their script.
Okay, do you mind if I just have a run through it? A triumph.
Take away the sins of the world.
Glad I'm behind a mask.
Well, we're sort of locked down in my... Oh. Okay, take 170 many.
Of the world. Grant us.
I forgot it was different. Okay.
Take away the sins of the world.
He didn't take that one away, did he? There's only so much that the Almighty can do.
May the words of my lips and the meditation in my heart be acceptable in my sight. No, in your sight. Oh, dear me.